welcome back to another edition of Weezy. You know, we're going through some really difficult times and with the coronavirus going around and, news changes each and every day and just new levels of anxiety come and kind of want to attack our brains. And, if it attacks our brains, it attacks our moods and ultimately our health. Today, I have with me my friend Lianne Hoffer, who's going to help us out because she is a certified happiness trainer. Welcome, Lianne. How are you today?
Happy. How are you?
I'm happy amongst the chaos, I have to say.
Yeah.
And there's Ellie. She's going to join. She wants to hear. She's a little nervous.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Under a chair feels really good right now.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be in a cave?
Exactly.
As long as it would bring us, stuff. But you are so fabulous, and I love your program that you are going to talk to us today about what we can do.
Yeah, so when we go through trauma, and right now we're in this like huge period of trauma because everything's been uprooted, like our lives have been completely turned upside down and shaken around, and everyone's a little bit nervous. We're not sure what's coming down. So to have some tools in your toolbox to help stay happy will affect everything that you do during the day.
Okay, so before we go into those tools, but tell your audience a little bit about what you consider the state of happiness.
So the state of happiness to me is kind of like an anchor that sits inside of you so that when things start going slightly awry, it gives you a barometer or a lifeline to come back to. So it doesn't mean that you're like effervescent and happy all the time. It just means that, yes, sometimes you are, but you always have this state of peace inside of you. So even when, the jar gets shaken and everything's all mixed up, you still have that place to come back to be able to kind of breathe and just have this overall sense of peace. So when I talk about happiness, it's not necessarily joy. It's also a sense of peace and calm and, that go within.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So what are some of the pointers that you have to share with us today?
So the first thing I noticed is I just keep touching my face. We're not supposed to do that. Thank God I'm in my house because I can't stop it. It's like, that's one thing that's come out of this, right? I think people are washing their hands more, which is really great. But you notice some of these habits that we have.
Oh, I'm constantly taking something because pollen is like at an all-time high right now. So I'm constantly like itching my face, going move my nose. It's like, oh, I touched that. So it's, yeah. So it does cause a lot of angst when these things
causes,
even when the pollen, I know it's pollen and it's pollen that's making my eyes itch and maybe having a little more thick feeling in my throat. It's like, oh, could it be? And then it's like, no, it's pollen.
Exactly. And that's one of the points to talk about is not to believe everything that you think.
Oh boy. That's probably been the biggest thing that I've struggled with on this in this time. I struggle with it anyway.
I know, right?
I mean, but this like ramps it up even more.
Exactly. So how many times have you been, like clothes shopping and you think, oh my gosh, these clothes, I'm never going to find something that's going to fit, or this is never going to fit well, or I'm not going to find a good size, or I can't wear that because I'm too old, too young, too big, too fat, too tall.
Like
too
every
short.
time we go shopping.
Exactly, right? I mean, what do women absolutely hate shopping for? I'm assuming that a good population of your viewers are women, and for the guys out there, we hate shopping for bathing suits.
Yes.
I mean, we dread
bathing suits and jeans. Jeans for me.
Jeans?
Yeah. Because they come in all different shapes and sizes now that it's like you see something that's really cute and then you put it on and, I have some extra curves going on there and they don't look so good.
But we earned those curves, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
And here's a great here's a great place where we can change our dialogue. So when we start thinking all these crazy thoughts and our brain's going a million miles an hour, here's a great way to say, you know what, I earned those curves. I've
Yeah.
got kids for those curves.
Or what I've been saying is only I have control. If I don't like what I see, only I have the control to take care of what needs to be done, to take care of it, to make the changes.
Well, see, now you just bounced to another.
Oh, well, I better shoot.
You did. So the cat's out of the bag. So one of the other ones is taking ownership. Owning their happiness is part of it. And deciding that you're going to make your decision to accept that you look how you look, because that's how, you know, that's where you are. You haven't
where we are in life at this time.
You've been eating too many peanut M&Ms, which are kind of one of my downfalls. So every time I go shopping for clothes or something and I start saying, oh man, you're just too fat, you know, and it's like, you know what? You could stop eating those peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
So it all kind of wraps up and goes together, but it's kind of cool when you can separate it out like you just did. Good job.
Well, thank you. I will take that gold star. But in these times that we're going through, a lot of us are on social media for different information, but then we start seeing some of the posts, and we get discouraged, or we think people are what do I want to say? They're handling it better. I see a lot of food posted. It's like, well, they're cooking so much fancier than I would. You know, the comparison game.
Absolutely.
And people, we all ages get caught up in this. And so what do you say about that? About finding your happiness when you are get caught up with and down on yourself in the social media game?
So the first thing I would say is comparison is the thief of joy. And no, I didn't come up with that. Somebody else did. And I can't credit the person that did. Maybe it's Maya Angelou? I'm not sure. But somebody came up with that. And it's true. So when you're stuck in social media, just limit how much you're looking for. I mean, honestly, in these times, things are changing super fast. They change regularly. Maybe schedule a couple of times during the day to look at that instead of being on it constantly. I find if I check it in the morning, kind of see what's coming up, check it in the afternoon, kind of see if something's changed, check it at night before I go to bed so I can have an idea of what's coming up, then I know what's happening, I know what's coming on. The other thing I would say is maybe stop following some of the people who are super doom and gloom. You don't have to unfriend them, just stop following them.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are going down that rabbit hole that you maybe don't want to, you can still be friendly with them and you can still go and look at what they're saying, but it's not, you can curate your feed.
But it's not coming at you and you're going, you know, it's not so jarring and upsetting at that moment when you might already be, I know sometimes I'm already stressed, so I'm kind of looking to kind of look for something fun or good news on there or whatever. I know on my Weezy page, I'm trying to keep it, you know, more positive and helpful information. And so, and that's exactly why I have you on, because I want to help my people that follow me have information of how to find that peace, you know, some ways to change some of the thoughts to finding more peace in these troubled times.
Absolutely. And just being able to recognize the thoughts when they come up and then realizing it's just a thought. Because if you have the thought over and over and over and over again, so like we were talking about before we went on, one of the things we were talking about was everyone's looking at this virus as a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that, it's rolling in our heads, right? Because we're trying to be super careful. But yet the rate of people who are getting it, almost everybody, like in the very high 90s, if not 99%, heal just fine. So yes, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for those of us that get it, that don't get that massive sickness, to spread it to the people who can't. So try to watch the thought. Yes, we need to be careful. Absolutely. And if you even think you've been around somebody who's been sick, stay home. I mean, I'm in that camp 100%.
Yeah.
But it just, if you do get sick, it does not mean that you have it, A, and B, it does not mean that you're going to have to go and be in intensive care, which I think is what people have ruminating around in their minds. So when you hear that thought in your head, maybe go have a glass of orange juice, or go wash your hands, or, grab yourself, some cleaner and clean some frequently touched areas like your telephone, your computer keyboard, some door handles. It'll make you feel a little bit better. It's going to give you a little bit of that ownership that we've talked about, and it's certainly not going to hurt anything.
Right. That's what I do is if I feel overwhelmed, I don't really feel overwhelmed. I get kind of pouty, needless to say. So I go and I find something to do, or I will text a friend, or something, and check on somebody else. But taking this is what I do. I'm not saying this is what everybody has to do, but it does help to reach out and check on somebody else, to see how they're doing. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation. It can just be a text. But I have several people. I text them and we text back and forth for just a couple minutes, but we've moved on.
Right.
But it's reaching out and just getting, for me, it's getting outside of myself, and then also telling myself that's not true. Let's shift it to think about something else.
Absolutely. Well, we talked previously about Katie Byron with the work. So is this true? Is this absolutely true? Do I know that it's true? And who would I be if I didn't have this thought? So you just went through that whole process kind of with what you're doing lightly. You kind of touched on a lot of those. So sometimes by changing what you're thinking about, it lets you kind of give yourself that break, that mental break.
Yeah. So Saturday, I will say I was more of my struggle day. Just I'd hit several walls, and I was just kind of like done by the end of the day. So I ended up sitting outside I just stopped doing what I was doing, and I sat outside for quite a while with my husband. And then I'm like going, let's do something different tonight. Mm-hmm. So we pulled out a deck of cards and we played rummy, so that we just sat there and had something else.
I haven't played rummy since I was a kid. That sounds like fun.
Oh, it is. It is, it's just, because you don't have to think that hard. It's not really high strategy, but it's something that the two of you can do. Because I've been seeing, where, I think about the families, and it's like, oh, they could sit down and they can play board games because they have more than two people or whatever,
Right.
And, but, sometimes I don't want the electronics on. I don't want to read a book. I read and I watch all the time. And sometimes I want a break from that. So that's what we did, is we sat down and we played rummy.
I love it. You really gave yourself a break from all of that was going on, and kind of diverted your thought for a little while.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. The more that we think something, we have these they're called neural pathways in our brains. It's the way that the chemistry goes in the brain. And when you have a thought, it strengthens that connection. And the more you have the thought, the stronger the connection. So by taking a break, you're giving that connection a bit of a break, and you're forming some new ones by doing other things. So I think that's awesome.
So do you have like any exercises? I mean, we've talked about, changing your brain, but do you have like any exercises or other pointers that you would like to share?
I love the hand one. Do you want to do the hand one again?
Sure.
Okay. So you take your hands, and this is the whole idea behind this one, is showing how much your words and what you're thinking and what you're saying affect you. So if you take your hands and line up the lines on your palms, and then put your hands together so that you can see how they match up. So that's how mine match up. Okay. Now you see how they're fairly even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now take your dominant hand and put it behind your back, or put it down, and hold up your non-dominant hand. And this part's a little strange, but I'm going to ask you to play along, okay?
Okay, I got it here.
We're going to tell it to grow.
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 Grow, you
Grow.
big, strong hand. You grow.
Grow. You
grow.
need to be strengthened.
Be
grow.
big and strong. Grow, grow, grow.
Grow. Grow. grow.
Now, take your hands and line them back up and look at the difference.
Wow. Can you see mine?
Oh yeah, yours grew a lot too. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It doesn't last. It's not long lasting in this particular exercise, but it really gives you an opportunity to see how
Mm-hmm.
much our words and our thoughts and what we're saying, either out loud or inside, affect us.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So, is there, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to, another pointer or anything else before we wrap it up?
I think today I'm going to be having a class to teach some of these strategies. I think this is a time when we need it more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with, so much craziness going on, and we need some sort of an anchor, some sort of a place to keep us all grounded. So I'm going to do a class, and I'll be doing that coming up. I need to set a date so people can connect with me for that, and we can get them on the list, and then they can choose to sign up or just stay on the list.
Okay, so if somebody's waiting for the list, what's the best way to contact you? Is it email or?
So they can email me at info@theclutterconsultant.com. They can find me on Facebook on my community called Awakening Happiness, or they can connect through the Clutter Consultant on Facebook.
All right. Well, Lianne, thank you so much for coming on again today. And you just always bring a little ray of sunshine. Even though we were in the middle of a storm doing this, you bring a little ray of sunshine to our lives. And I hope that our audience gets some good pointers, because you gave us really good information, and it can bring some peace in the middle of this little storm that we're living in right now.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on and share with you.
All right. You take care, Lianne, and goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.